Hello everybody, my name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author and a robot, and today I'm going to tell you about my new upcoming book, Boom Boom Boom. And there will be a date about when it comes out at the end of the video. But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Number two, if you would like to be featured on this channel, check out the links down below for Lemoy and PitchFit, two different ways to have your creative work featured here. And number three, join us on Fridays for Friday night loin streams. So I felt like there was a third thing. Maybe there wasn't. But, yeah. So, boom, boom, boom. Maybe you've seen me sort of talk about it here and there around. Maybe you've seen picture, like this beautiful cover picture here and there and around. And so the day is finally coming. And so I thought I would answer a couple of questions about the book. And if you have further questions about the book, feel free to ask them down in the comments and I'll try to answer them. But these are the ones that I thought of to like kind of give you a flavor of what's to come. So hopefully I can do it a bit of justice. So number one, what is the book called? Well, by the title, Boom Boom Boom. I don't know what else I was expecting. You know, when I put together a list, I did not really think out fully the logic behind the style of the list. How would you describe the genre is question number two. This is a satire, and unfortunately, as much as I wanted to fight against it, it is political satire as well. My second satire book, I was also like, this is going to be my most inconsequential work ever because nobody is going to care about the contents of this book. And then Ukraine and Russia happened. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now everybody's going to think I'm grifting off of that, even though I wrote this a year ago. So, what do I mean by that? Well, question number three is, what is the story about? So the story is about young Jan right here. He's 20 years old. He is a Ukrainian who lives in the small town of Nide along the Russian border. There may be like 100 people in his little town/village, and he runs a YouTube channel where he creates explosives in the middle of the woods and just puts them up online. And he also happens to have a special ability where he can recognize chemicals by their taste and smell, and he can know how they're going to interact by their taste and smell. He just has kind of an incredible skill at this, natural ability at this. So one day he's shooting his videos, and the next day a couple of foreign investors, sponsors, guests from America show up and say, hey, we would like to sponsor your channel. We love what you do on your channel. Here are some military-grade explosives. Those men would be named Tom Cruise and Bob Dylan. No, those are not their real names. Those are actually federal agents from the United States. And so the plan is to use this kind of Ukrainian bumpkin to start a proxy war with Russia. And if they're lucky, he'll blow himself up in the process. Well, Jan doesn't blow himself up, and instead, the Americans fly him off to America under the guise of him getting his own television channel. Meanwhile, war is pretty much starting out over there in Russia and Ukraine, while America is trying to take advantage of this kid's natural abilities for creating and revolutionizing bomb making. So, the story is somewhat slapstick. It's got some very slapsticky moments. And its main target is the federal government, not just the American federal government, because a big portion of it is telling the difference between citizens of a country and their government, because they're not the same thing. And so you have some of that interaction between some of the central characters. Who are the central characters and what are they like? Well, there's Jan. He's energetic, idealistic, optimistic. He has a big heart. And yeah, he's always up for an adventure. And unlike some of the other people in his life, he wants to trust people even when he knows that he shouldn't, because he wants to believe the best in people. Then you've got the female lead right here. Her name is Blake Beck, and she's an American from DC, hates the government. Is that a surprise? Because she lives in DC. Her dad lives in DC. Her mom lives in North Carolina. But her dad works for the mainstream media, and so she kind of bullies her dad all the time because she thinks he's a loser and she thinks he's a poser, and she is against the feds. So Jan ends up meeting Blake when he's in DC, and she's trying to help him get back home because the feds brought him and he can't just leave on his own. Then you've got Bill Cosby, who is Jan's agent when he gets to America, basically his handler, his overseer. You have Tom Dillon and Bob Dylan and Tom Cruise, who are the agents who go to Ukraine and initially meet Jan. And then you have Alex, who is Jan's best friend in Ukraine and actually works in Sumy. And Alex is much more straight-laced, is much more serious, is much more negative and critical. And they wouldn't be friends if not for the fact that they both grew up in Nide and they just remained friends, even though they're so totally different. Alex has something of a response. It feels like he's somewhat responsible for Jan and is constantly trying to convince Jan to just move to Sumy to get a real job instead of being a night stalker and then shooting stupid YouTube videos in the middle of the woods every other night. So those are the main central characters. Yeah, there are a lot of feds. And then you get some side people like Boris, who's his dad, or his boss at the shop in Nida, and you get his dad is in there, and you get Vladimir and Ivan, who are a couple of Russians who end up in DC, and it just becomes kind of a cluster mess. Is this a standalone or part of a series? This is a standalone and will remain a standalone. Where did the idea come from for this book? So the initial idea for the book started out with back in, I think it was 2019 or 2020. It had to be 2019 because it had to be, whatever. I was watching Strange Angel, which is the TV show about Jack Parsons, father of modern rocket fuel. And I really liked his eccentricity and his passion for explosives and for, rockets and trying to get to space. And I was like, I freaking want to write a character who is super passionate and really good about something like that, like explosives specifically, who is just kind of eccentric, it doesn't fit in, but really believes in what they're doing. And so just that urge to create somebody that was eccentric and playful and had the explosives focus, that kind of entirely created Jan as a character. So I knew he was going to be either Ukrainian or Russian, but I didn't know at the time. I just knew that he was going to be an explosives expert from one of those countries. And then shortly, like some months after that, I had him in my brain and he was just percolating as a voice, a very clear character voice. I was mentioning this character to my mom and saying, I have this character with this situation and these characteristics, but I don't know what to do with him. And between a little back and forth, because I just didn't know what his goal would be or if he'd be a main character or a side character, she said, well, what if he was doing it for YouTube? And so then when she mentioned YouTube, everything just started to click into place for like the starting point. And then I do a lot of discovery writing and I figured out very quickly where the story was going to go. So that's where the story came from. Is there a central theme that you either wrote about or discovered as you wrote? So the central theme, one of the central themes, and I would love to hear other people's ideas of what the central theme is if they decide to pick up this book, is not the federal government is evil and doesn't care about the interests of its citizens or the interests of others. It is just a machine that grinds up the citizens in order to empower itself. And that's a thing that crosses country lines. It's not just whatever corrupt country is over there or whatever corrupt country is over there. It's pretty much all of them, most of them. You have to question. And if you want to be taken care of, it's up to you and your immediate family to do so. Because the country leaders often sell out. And America is not a hero in this at all. What was the process like for writing this book and how long did it take? So the process for writing this, like I mentioned before, I had Jan months before I even had any idea of how this book was going to go. And then I started writing. And the process for a first draft for me is I kind of figure out where the first turning point of the book is. And then once I get there, I kind of learn where the second turning point is if I haven't figured it out by then. Usually I don't know what the third turning point is until I'm into the third act, or what the third the actual climax of the book will be until I'm actually in the third act. But I did know that Jan's first turning point would be being invited to go to America and what that would look like. And then his second turning point would be getting away from the feds because his time in America would be very controlled and he would be going crazy because he's a very free spirit. So I knew those two things going in, and I just started writing it. I think the first draft of this book took about 3 to 3.5 months. And then I just started rewriting it over again, because what I usually do is I write a first draft, then I set aside the first draft and use it more as a reference to completely rewrite the second draft that changes chapters. And this book gained about 10 to 15,000 words during rewrite. I know the scene where the feds are talking to Jan the second time, when they're asking him if he wants a deal in America, changed a lot. Like, that scene completely changed. And initially, the federal agents were going to have names just that, like Michael Smith, like super common names. But then I was like, no, it'd be more hilarious if their code names were like movie stars or celebrities of some kind. And so there's also a Fed in there who's named Patrick Bateman, because he's a freaking Zoomer Fed. That's what he is. An edgy boy. So their names all changed during revision as well. And so I think this book took about 6 months, 6 or 7 months to rewrite and revise a couple of times. And then even leading up to the release, as I keep going through it, I kind of tweak a couple of little things. So that's been interesting. But the major work took about the first 5 months. And then I went through a couple rounds of copy editing and line editing for cleaning it up. 9. Did you listen to music while writing this, and what did you listen to? So I have a tendency when I'm writing to listen to like one song forever and ever and ever and ever until the mood totally shifts and I switch to another song entirely. So for like I think the entire first act of this book, I was listening to Dreamer's Palm Reader. And then there was a section where I was listening to 24K Gold. I don't remember what song it was. I don't remember the title of the song. And I went back to Palm Reader at another point. But yeah, I just listened to songs on repeat. And I'll actually link at the end of this video, in the cards at the end, the playlist for this book if you want some of the mood songs that either relate to this or that I listened to while I was writing this. 10. What was surprisingly easy with this story? The character voices were surprisingly easy. Like, I already had Jan, so that was super easy. But Alex was super easy and very natural to create. And then when Blake showed up, I think the story really speeds up. When she joins the story, it just goes so fast. And then when you get Alex, Blake, and Jan all together, their chemistry is just like butter. It makes so much sense, and their voices are so obvious and so distinct and so unique, but also very inspired by how they feel about certain things. So that was really cool for me to have those characters. And also there was a moment, oh my gosh. So while he's in Ukraine, there are 2 different scenes where Jan does a really big explosion with contents from the feds. And the first one gets more views, and then the second one is almost kind of a disaster. And initially, because Jan gets kind of blown over by how big it is, and Jan is fleeing from the scene because there are Russians everywhere, and he hears them coming towards him, so he's like, I gotta get out of here. And initially, when I was writing the first draft of that, he was just running through the woods to get back to his moped. Not moped, what the frick is it? I always forget what it is. His ride. And I just had him start talking because I was like, oh, he's going to be talking to somebody in his head. It turns out that he was talking to Alex in his head. But then as I kept writing it, I was like, he's not talking to a fake version of Alex in his head. He should be on the phone. And so there were these certain situations where they just started populating that made sense as I let the story build, that then when I went back to revise, everything just made more sense with just how natural all of this was. But just, yeah, the naturalness of the development of the character relationships and how they talk to one another. Boris was super obvious with his voice as well. And his dad, oh my gosh, I loved the development of Jan's dad wasn't as prominent in the arguments that take place in this book in the first draft. But when it got to the second draft, he was very much out there. And I love the relationship between Jan and his father, even if it is fairly small in this book. I think there's a lot of meaning between the way you see them interact with one another, and then the way that Jan thinks about his father and Alex in post when you see that going on. Surprising struggle with this story. I feel like I had a nemesis chapter in this. I know that Bodymore had a nemesis chapter. Bodymore 2 had a nemesis chapter. I cannot remember if I got super stuck on a chapter, but I do remember going, what the frick am I doing with this book so many times? Is this even good? The self-doubt is real. I feel like I'm too far past having worked on this book to be like, I remember that specifically being a struggle, because a lot of stuff wasn't particularly struggly in this, other than the normal process, which I hate drafting. I hate draft 1 so much. So talk about the cover is number 12. So I love this cover. I can't even, I sound so stupid right now. So I don't know how much this is actually good for market for a satire, but this is by Sam Johnson, the same wonderful artist that did The Raven for Bodymore and did The Cat and helped with the cover for Dead End to Drive. And you've got Jan on this side, Blake over here, a camera right there, even though Jan uses his phone in the book, but the camera looks better on the cover. And then an explosion for all of that funky taste. So the point was to kind of do something pop arty and something playful, because it's satire. So you want people to know this is going to be kind of playful, kind of cartoony, kind of slapstick. And then I'm so excited to get the physical version of this book, because he's making the backside of it look like a YouTube page. And it's going to have a still from like Jan's first YouTube video that he put on, and you get a little icon, and then you get the description of the book down there, and it's going to be super cute, and I'm so excited, especially because it's a bright colored book, which will go beautifully next to my 2 dark colored books. So I'm so excited for this cover, and I feel so lucky to have Sam working on my cover. If you want to check out more of his art, I'll link his stuff in the description below. He's got a Twitter and an artist page and artist website and a Twitter, and an Instagram. So there's that. Any fun facts about this book that you'd like to share? At the moment, I don't think so, but I was super excited because one of the first reviews that this book has received compared it to Animal Farm by George Orwell. So was super humbling, and I'm very grateful for the couple of readers that this book has had. Again, I'm like, nobody is going to read this because nobody gives a crap about Ukraine and Russia, and everybody, like, satire, fiction satire is not a super popular genre, I feel like. I don't know how many people actually go out looking to read satire, but I think this is a super fun book. And then unfortunately, after I wrote this last year, finished working on it last year, and I was like, this is going to come out in spring of 2022. Last month stuff with Russia and Ukraine started. So then it was like, well, I could be a little bit psychic. I don't control this ability, though. Okay, so share a quote is the next one, and I'm going to pick from chapter 13. I think there are 19 chapters, 20 chapters in this book. This is, Jan has been in DC for a while now. By a while, I mean like 3 or 4 weeks, and his handlers have not let him go anywhere. I'm staring out the window from my bedroom. It's not a hotel, they've told me, but it still feels like one. Hotel, lodgings, gulag. I shouldn't call it that. It's an insult to everyone who died in a gulag and was not lying on a pillow-top mattress with a wide flat-screen TV playing HBO Max all day. The sun shines through the windows I can't open. Even if I wanted fresh air, they're sealed. I've tried every day since I've moved here, so I know that they won't open, but I try opening them again just to see if somehow today they're different. They don't move. I've tried asking Bill if I can go for a walk for some fresh air. He laughs, tells me I'm funny, then gets all serious when he says, too risky. Did you forget what celebrity status means already? You've seen the movies, haven't you, Jan? If not, you have a TV now. Watch them. Get informed. I never know what movies he's talking about. I was also under the impression that movies were not real life, even when they pretended to be. My new bedroom is bigger than the one in the... My new bedroom is bigger than it was in the hotel. Now I have a small kitchenette along with a small fridge. It holds mostly vodka and water, and there are bags of jerky on the counter. I don't know why they keep bringing me jerky. A couple of empty bottles of blueberry vodka and jerky wrappers stuff the trash can. The room smells sterile. The spilled alcohol in the sheets doesn't help. My phone's in my palm, and I'm still waiting for it to buzz with a message from Alex. I can't help but check it every 30 seconds. Maybe more often than that. I'm not keeping track. Every day I've been waiting for him to send me a message saying, "Sorry, I've been busy. You worried I was mad at you? Ha! How's America? This looks expensive." And we'd slide back into our normal back and forth like nothing happened. I bring my phone to my ear. No one's on the line, but I say, "I wouldn't know. Bill Cosby is my agent. Have you heard of him? He is the one in charge of my life now, and he is more demanding than Boris ever was. He won't let me leave the house. I haven't seen much of America yet." I hear Alex chuckle and say, "Get to the point, Jan." I smile wide, but it fades fast. "I was saying I wouldn't know if America is expensive. I'm not buying anything. Everything's just brought to me. It's like being royalty. I think Bill calls it celebrity status. It's horrible." And Alex wouldn't say anything for a while, but then, because he's the pragmatic and thoughtful one, because he's an engineer and lives in Sumy with a job that isn't stocking shelves, he would say, "Do you feel like a celebrity?" I'm always surprised by how much better Alex knows me than I know me. My heart's racing again. It's been doing that a lot recently. My hands fall from my ears, so my phone taps against my thigh. My throat's dry and my eyes go blurry, but I close them so nothing escapes. I go to my bed, falling onto it when I finally get there. My voice muffles into the sheets. "I'm bored, Alex. It's not much fun around here when you can't do what you want." "Why can't you do what you want?" Alex says to me. "Because Bill won't let me. Since when do you care what other people say you can do?" I roll onto my back. The television across from my bed is huge. That doesn't stop it from blurring while I stare at it. "This is different. My agent has security stationed everywhere. And yet you still made a video in the middle of the woods while Nita was crawling with catsup. And I didn't get caught by any of them." "Yeah. What happened to that guy?" Alex says. His voice continues in my head, but it grows distant and static breaks it up until he's missing. "Alex," I say. "Alex, are you there?" I bring the phone back to my ear, pull it away, look at the screen. It's black. It's been black. My call history is empty except for all the times I've tried to call Alex since I left Ukraine. I put the phone back to my ear, saying his name again, waiting for him to say, "Sorry, I got busy a second time. Someone came in." I tapped the mute by accident. Anything. I just want to hear his voice, but for real. I pull the phone away from my ear and tap the screen with my finger. The broken glass disrupts the image of my blasting site back home. Green trees from summer surround the black spot in the dirt where I used to run my activities. The screen reminds me I wasn't talking to Alex, and I stare at it until it assures me that no one's coming by turning black again. I get up and go to the freezer. I toss my phone onto the counter. I'm taking out a bottle of vodka, and it's half gone the moment I take off the cap. A burp pushes a burn of spiked blueberry into my nose. I wipe my mouth with the back of my arm. I stare down at my phone. Another drink. "You're right." I put the bottle down, grab the phone, and stuff it into my pocket. This isn't anything like I'd ever do. Since when do I hide like this? My Ukrainian's slurring a little bit, but it's not the vodka's fault. It couldn't be. I haven't drank that much. I grab the bottle again and drink another half of what's left. My head's bobbing to the music that's not there, while HBO plays in the background. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. My shoulders sway and lips mutter. Though I'm not sure what I'm saying, I open the door to my room and look down the hall. First left, then right. I jump from just how close a man in a suit is. He's been there every day. I don't know why it startles me every time. "Is something wrong?" he says. "No." I slowly push the door closed and back away again. I'm sucking the residue of gunpowder out from my nails as I walk back across the room toward the window. A desk sits near it. I'm on the third story by the street. Across the street is a small park, a fountain of a man surrounded by a lot of cement and trees filled with cars almost all the time. My fingers curl around the back of the desk chair. My foot bounces. I shift my weight. My other foot bounces. The traffic light outside changes. I count the seconds between each direction change from red to green back to red. My head drops forward. My forehead presses to the glass. "What you doing?" I say, pronouncing each sound hard. I clear my throat. "What you doing?" I say harder. I grab the chair with both hands, dragging it away from the desk on two legs. A couple paces away, I swing it and toss it into the window. The legs slap into the glass. Not glass. It thuds. The chair flies back at me. I duck. The chair crashes into a lamp and side table and crashes. I run across the room, tripping over my feet. One of my socks is hanging half off of my foot, and I'm thinking, since when did that happen, or am I just noticing it now because it's hindering me? I slip into the bathroom, turn on the lights, and toss my phone into the sink. I'm in the shower. The water's running. The shower doesn't have a curtain, though. It's a big glass box. I rip my clothes off and toss them onto the floor outside of the shower door. My foot slides on the linoleum. The bathroom door flies open. The man in the suit from outside the door comes in. "Ah!" I say. My voice shakes with uncertainty. "Please, don't hurt me. I'm naked." My arms cover my face. The water's steaming the glass and quickly turning my skin red. It's probably too hot. "There was a sound," the man in the suit says. "A lamp in your bedroom is knocked over." I gasp. "Really? Was it the kidnappers I've been told about?" I peek over my arm. The man in the suit is looking around the bathroom. He stares at the pile of wet clothing. There's a flicker of something on his lips. Irritation? He doesn't move. I hear my heart over the rushing water. The man turns back to the bedroom, says something to someone in there, then turns back to me. "You didn't hear anything?" I'm shaking my head before he's done talking. "No," I say. "I don't think so." "How long have you been in the shower?" he says. "I don't know. Am I supposed to keep track of that kind of thing? Sorry." The man in the suit looks back at the wet clothes again, then the mirror, then the sink. "Why is your phone in the sink?" I shrug slowly. It must have fallen off when the earthquake hit," I say. "Earthquake?" "I don't know. You heard the sound. I'm just guessing." Another man comes into the bathroom and whispers something into the other man's ear. They both look at me. I stare back at them. They look at my clothing. The one points at me. I say, "I'm sorry I'm naked." The hot water steams the window. It steams their sunglasses. I'd think they'd take those off, but they don't. They watch me for a long while, whispering. I can't read their lips. I turn my back to them and run my fingers through my hair, getting it thoroughly wet and pretending I don't notice them anymore and I don't care. I hear something. They're leaving. I give it a couple of minutes before I turn off the water. I hang my wet clothing in the shower to dry. My wavy hair is weighed down by the water which drips down my neck. I peek out of the bathroom door. No one's there. The chair's pushed back under the desk. I keep going into the room. The air's freezing. "You need to be more careful," a voice says. I turn around. Bill is standing against the door to my room. "Why?" "You could get hurt." "How could kidnappers have found me? I haven't done much of anything." "I didn't say kidnappers, Sean. There's more going on than you're aware of." He looks at the empty bedside table where the lamp used to be. There's nothing there now to match the lamp on the opposite side of the bed. "Stay away from the windows and keep your lights at a minimum." "I can't sit in the dark." "If it's not something that you think that you can do on your own, then we'll be happy to move you to a room where windows won't be a problem. We might set that up anyway." "A room with no windows? Now you're starting to sound like this is prison." I laugh and then swallow. "Don't think like that. You'll make yourself crazy." "But why is this necessary?" "You're too important for us to lose, Jan. Do you understand that?" Bill's standing in front of me. He places a hand on my shoulders. Goosebumps form down my arms. "I don't understand. I just make YouTube videos. No matter what the number says, I'm a nobody from nowhere that could be replaced by anyone else with something more interesting going on." "Jan." Bill squeezes my shoulders hard. "You might not see it, but you need to believe me when I say we need you, and we need you focused and safe, all right? We've got a couple big meetings coming up in the next few days. International investors, studios from all over want you at the lab trying things out and thinking how to make things bigger and better every damn day you're at work. We need to impress these guys." But what will it do? Huh? Bill pretends he didn't hear me. His hands draw back like he's touching fire. He's looking away. What will it do if I impress these executives with my videos? Bill chuckles and nods. He's responding to someone that isn't here. His lips curl into a smile. You don't need to worry about that, kid. I stare into my reflection. My body repulses looking at him. His smile is stone. His face is that of a monster with a snake for a tongue. The lens of his glasses are black holes pretending to be eyes, trying to suck me in by using my face as bait. I reach for the sunglasses. Bill grabs my hand before I'm anywhere close enough to touch him. We talked about this, he says. Yeah, but I don't get why you wear them inside. I don't get why you can see in the dark room like this. I draw my hand back. He lets me go. I'm stepping back slowly, arms falling at my sides. It's an American thing. Don't worry about it. He steps back, making his way toward the door. But Jan, get dressed. You hungry? I'll call for something to eat. Or we could go out to eat. I'll call you something. How's a cheesesteak sound? Great. He doesn't let me answer. He's talking to himself still as he steps out of the door, and I hear him in the hall muttering to one of the other men. Maybe there's only one of them out there. I open the door. The hallway's colder than my room, and I feel it immediately on my lower half. The man in the suit looks at me, brows furrowed and lips offended, but trying to stay straight. Bill's halfway down the hallway. Turning on his heels, he sees me and yells, I told you to get dressed. Dinner's coming. So that's what I'll share from that scene. Maybe a bit long, but I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe it'll convince you to go and see what happens next. And the final question on this list is, when is the release date? And at the moment, the release date is May 1st. Hopefully, still there. Add it to your reading list. And I have links in the description below for where it is available for purchase, or at least some places to be able to purchase it. Or if you want, request it at your library. So thank you so much for listening to me talk about my book. This was so fun to write. And even though I had so many episodes of freaking being like, what the frick am I doing? And I still have that constantly after the fact, I have been very excited to share this story with people because I just feel like it's a lot of fun, and I think Jan is a very fun character, and the relationships I love, and I can't wait, and I kind of hope to get the chance to talk about this book at some point with other people who have read it, just because, I don't know, I like the characters. But so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you have any questions about like any of the process of this that might interest you, let me know in the comments below and I'll try to answer the best I can. I never know what specific things might interest people, so hearing from you guys to know better what to answer helps me in the future. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend and don't die. Hello, boomers. My name is Yanananana. In case you didn't know, I'm a YouTuber from Nide, a small town in eastern Ukraine. My family has never really understood what I do in the woods, but all I've ever wanted is to make a better life for us all. Papa always comes home from the mines angry, dirty, and tired. It's a necessary evil to do your job and be in a place that you don't want to be. But I've never wanted to spend my life doing exactly what was necessary of me. Yanni? There's someone here to see you. Americans. Americans? Yeah. Good morning. My name is Tom Cruise. This is my partner Bob Dylan, and we are big fans of your work. You're a couple of boomers. Actually, I'm a Gen Xer, but I digress. We'd like to sponsor you. Sponsor? What does that mean? We'd like to supply you with a couple of things to, help your channel explode. Who is it? Jan Bagan. Good. For a moment, I thought you were one of the Katsap looking for trouble again. What do you mean? They say they're looking for a terrorist. They want to declare war. What point is there to declare war? Human beings are simple creatures. You understand what drives humanity? You understand all human motivation. There's someone out there doing something bigger than your internet videos, and they won't hesitate to use you as a scapegoat. The Russians are begging for a reason to declare us hostile so they can take everything we have. Don't give them that reason, Jan. I should just go home, like Boris said, but I checked the video I posted last night and it has over 500 views. I'm going viral. I don't have a choice. I must produce another video. The jar I'm holding slips out of my sweaty palms. I can't waste any more time and go back for it. I grab my tripod saying sorry, 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 while I keep moving. The jar explodes. I'm deafened by something so loud and powerful, it seems unreal. Jan, did you see that? Where the hell have you been? You mean the explosion? Yes. That was me. You needed to not do this today. You don't understand, Alex. I had to do it. I had to get the views. You're going to get yourself killed, Jan. No. They're looking for a terrorist. And how do you look different than a terrorist? I'm not trying to hurt people. Ignorance of war will not stop bullet from straying into your head.